Do it now.
Good. Let's decipher the encoded words in the message that Watson found at the London hospital.
I was overthinking it. It's literally just this. I don't need to worry about these anymore, apparently. So, 3... Oops, wrong one. New command. Woman. New command, woman. I know this is correct. Yes. T? Well, at least I have some idea what I'm doing now. New command, woman. New command subject, woman. Da-da-da. Oh, these ones are the actual V. So IV, D, X, and then 2 I's. And then IX, XX2. Correct. XV3. There we go. That was correct. V3. XV3, that's already correct. V1.
Elementary.
New command subject, woman delivery, Wharfdale 17. Thank God. So happy I learned how to... I was overthinking it again.
My dear Watson, I congratulate you on your investigation. This letter seems to well and truly confirm the organised trafficking of bodies in London.
My God, how dreadful.
Watson, we must go to the address that appears in this message. I would suggest you take your weapon.
It hasn't left my side since the beginning of this whole affair, Holmes.
I'll also be putting on my workman's disguise again. One never knows.
But what about me, Holmes?
Stay as you are, Watson. At worst, you can pass as my employer. Find Wharfdale Road on the map of London, Watson.
Understood, Holmes.
Yes, Watson, that's your job. Wharfdale.
Yes, I have, Holmes.
Here we are, Watson. 17 Wharfdale Road. Let's be careful.
You think so, Holmes? This house seems to be abandoned.
A wheel?
This wheel is in good shape, but it is impossible to remove it. The pin holding it is stuck. Given the layer of dust accumulated in the square, this door must rarely open. Closed. This lock is solid, but very old. I should be able to force it. Look, if we lift a board from this window, we should be able to pass through. But first we have to get ourselves up there.
You are joking, Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes never
This trolley
does.
seems to be in good condition, apart from the broken wheel, of course. This trolley seems to be in good condition, apart from the broken wheel, of course. No, I can't do that. A tarred cover. No, I can't take it like that. This rope seems strong. It is sure to come in handy. Numerous footsteps. Apparently this passage is used frequently.
Yes.
This door was recently reinforced. Impossible to open it. This wheel is in good shape, but it is impossible to remove it. The pin holding it is stuck. No, I can't take it like that. This trolley seems to be in good condition, apart from the broken wheel, of course. There, this piece of tarpaulin is very thin, but solid enough for our purposes.
But what the devil are you doing, Holmes?
This trolley seems to be in good condition, apart from the broken wheel, of course.
Oh, is it supposed to oil up to the wheel?
This wheel is in good shape, but it is impossible to remove it. The pin
Never
holding
mind.
it is stuck. This door was recently reinforced. Impossible to open it.
Ah. Sherlock.
There, by sliding this piece of tarred tarpaulin, I was able to quite simply force the lock. Let's go in.
Incredible!
These jars contain chemical products. I have no idea what they are for. There's something here. There's something here. There's something here.
How do I get to it then?
A trapdoor. These little metal instruments are rather curious. I'll take one. Some makeup applicators. Closed. This door was recently reinforced. Impossible to open it. We must find a way to get down through it, Watson.
Incredible!
Can't we just jump? Can I tie a rope up here? No? Okay. I have a feeling you're for this. Please be.
This little instrument will serve perfectly as a pin punch.
But what the devil are you doing, Holmes?
Elementary.
But what the devil are you doing, Holmes?
This stone was blocking the wheel. This stone was blocking the wheel. Excellent. Now on to the next step. I need something. I need something.
What do you need?
I need something.
Is there a ladder or something I could have grabbed?
Excellent. Now on to the next step. I will go down alone, Watson. Try to cover for me if someone should happen along.
Understood, Holmes.
I swear this game has to be so specific about where things need to go, or it gives you too little or too much information.
Closed. Pincers. Rings, wedding rings, gold teeth. I daren't imagine where they came from. This old box must have held nails a long time ago. Nothing of interest. Hammer. I'll take it. This may come in handy. Clothing that appears to be destined to be incinerated. A pointed poker. This is sure to come in handy. A coffin, recently made and already broken. It is a stretcher that can be dismantled into 2 pieces. I have to find a way to take it upstairs, I think. I'll be needing it. Here's an electrical mechanism. Turning the handle should supply it with energy. Ah, it would seem that there is a broken connection. Excellent. Now, on to the next step. This box is broken. The wires must be reconnected. Pray, think.
I'm sorry. Oh. Okay. Reset. Okay, so they can only go... Okay. So wait, can this go here? Yes, it can. Okay.
This box is broken.
Yeah,
The wires must be reconnected. Pray, think.
Okay, let's see. Can't be this one. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh. Da da. Da da da. I think we have to start here. Let's go here, here. Goes back up here. I feel like we have to end here. said. Oh my gosh. Oh, god damn it. No. Yeah. Hooray. Dang it. So let's just go the opposite way then. I know. Boom, 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 boom. No, because that wouldn't hit. Where do you connect to? You connect to this one, which I don't feel like could be. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. No.
Elementary.
Crank it up, give it all you've got. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's good, Holmes. I don't know why you brought this thing back up, but I can take it.
Perfect, Watson. The fuse box has burned. The lift is blocked. I'll have to find another way out. This bent key just needs a little repair job to make it usable. This may come in handy. This may come in handy. Rings, wedding rings, gold teeth.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, Sherlock. I get it.
This may come in handy. Closed.
I have the key. I know I have to do something with it.
Closed.
Game, you give me so much information and yet no information at all, feels like sometimes.
Numerous footsteps. Apparently this passage is used frequently. Closed.
Come on. No, that's not what I mean. Stop being yourself, game.
The fuse box is burned. The lift is blocked. I'll have to find another way out. This may come in handy. This may come in handy.
I know it will. Why won't you let me put the key in there to flatten it? Do you need this? The knife? What am I doing wrong? I swear I'm like, I figured out what to do. I've got this now. And then as soon as I start playing again, it's like, oh, no, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. That thought is gone. I'm gonna save it. God damn it. Why am I so bad? Resume.
This old box must have held...
That's super interesting, Sherlock. I'm so happy you're here.
This may come in handy.
Will it? I can't believe that.
This may come in handy.
Can't believe I'm doing this again. How to unbend the key. God damn it. It says just to click it. But it's like, where do I click it? So it has to be closed, apparently.
This may come in handy.
Oh my god. I hate this game. Really? That's what it took. I swear to God. That's what it took. Oh my goodness.
No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that.
Pliers? There we go. Oh my god. I swear to God, Sherlock. Go back to first person.
Closed.
Yes, I know it's closed.
Let's hope that it really is the key to this door.
And so, Holmes?
these together. And you. You? No. Okay.
I hope this ladder will support my weight. I need something. Let's go.
My God, Holmes. Where are we?
For us to find out, my friend. This woman is dead, Watson.
Yes, several days ago, Holmes, but the body is perfectly preserved. No odour, no visible decomposition.
It's a puzzle box. Let's see if I can open it.
I'm sorry, what? What are you asking? Oh, does it need to add up to 3? Except, no. I thought it would be like 3 of the same, but no. No? Okay. There we go. 5. 8. Oh, yay! Hurrah! No. No. Give me something. There we go. No. 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 Come on! I'm just guesstimating now. There we go. This one? No.
There we are. Magnificent.
Yay!
This square object is very unusual.
Here in the information of that boss was able to find about the client. Ethel loved pink and spoke in a composed and soft voice. At the end, she couldn't do more than whisper, but she was still able to sing some of the Schubert tunes that she loved. She would undoubtedly have been a virtuoso on the violin if her husband hadn't impeded her. Instructions: Pink Road, assorted jewelry, seance planned for 1 week hence, but the body will be taken today or tomorrow by 2 chaps that the boss has recruited. Their sign of recognition will be a triangle and a square attached with a red ribbon. No worries, they seem to be professionals. Won't be a problem. Important, mind the quality of your lime for affixing the false eyes during seance. For the boss has asked me to close the eyelids of the ghosts so that the clients don't notice anything because an eye started to fall out. He was furious and wasn't able to proceed to the symbiotic communication, which alone permits us to get the client's full cooperation and make off with the maximum. Transfiguration is the key, as he always says. The boss asked me to make known that if in the future such negligence was repeated, some of us may well be part of the next spectacle in the starring role. I hope that the message is understood.
This letter speaks of a sign of recognition. Interesting.
Yes, interessante.
Glass eyes in all shapes and all colors. This cheap jewel must be an accessory of some sort. This door was recently reinforced, impossible to open it. This may come in handy. These clothes are new, just like the deceased's dress. I imagine her clothes were changed. Look at this photo. It is inscribed Ethel Broom Street, 1851 to 1878. This young woman who died 10 years ago looks like the one stretched out on this table.
Whoop-a-doo. I don't. Assuming you're of Liverpool, I give you my love, my Alexis.
This old photo shows a young man dressed after the fashion of an employee in front of a shop.
After the fashion.
Some makeup applicators. Strange smell. What do you think, Watson?
A zinc chloride solution without a doubt. A product generally injected into cadavers to help preserve them. Look, Holmes, a label from the London hospital. It must be a corpse stolen from the London hospital.
Someone made up this corpse. The lips have been coloured and the rings around the eyes carefully camouflaged. Yes, somebody wanted to give the impression of life.
To what end?
Watson, this corpse was embalmed and made up and dressed to look like a woman who had died 10 years earlier.
Contact with here. After becoming a celebrity at the court of Tsar of all Russia for having invoked the greatest figures of past, such as Napoleon, Ivan the Terrible, Alexander the Great, and Robin Hood, Prince Alexander Raskolnikov is now in the service of the humble. His exceptional gifts of divination allow him to invoke your dearly departed to make them come back to life under your very eyes. They will speak to you and will appear in the window of time created by the vital energy of your seven.
Amusing. The man in the photo taken in 1883 and the one on Prince Raskolnikov's leaflet are one and the same, and no more a prince or a Russian than you or I, Watson. All is clear, Watson. A charlatan passing himself as a prince, making the dead come back by using corpses as puppets.
Which explains the disappearance of corpses at the London hospital. It was to fuel this sordid entertainment.
Yes, it was. Have I missed anything? I don't think so.
Holmes, I hear a cab stopping in the courtyard. Someone's coming.
It is probably the dealers, Watson, but instead of running, what if we were to meet them, if we managed to win their trust?
You are joking, Holmes?
Ah! It is you!
Oi, what you doing there, you? It's private in here.
Calm down, we aren't here as tourists.
Client?
We have come to collect our packet.
Oh, well then, you just had to say. I was told that you weren't no tramps, but I weren't expecting that you was... Given your get-up, I guess your boss.
Yes.
Well, the subject ain't ready yet. I ain't done with it yet. You'll have to come back.
Well, that's, a real problem.
Organs.
Say, we have a personal order too, for some organs. You wouldn't know where we can find them.
What type then?
Kidney, uterus.
Oi, I don't hack up my dollies. That's the work of an artist.
But you wouldn't happen to have a colleague who might furnish this type of item?
No, you can't make a copper doing that nowadays. Since the bigwigs made it easy to get stiffs, the medical schools are bursting with bodies to carve up. Docs and students have got all they need. Business is dead. For a few coppers, hospital bloke might help you out, but I don't know for sure. They'd be right in for it if they got caught. It probably just ain't worth it.
I understand. And what do you do with the corpses once you're finished with them?
I don't bother myself with that. For one thing's for sure, after the séance they're good for nothing but chucking out. I ain't Napoleon's embalmer.
Goodbye.
Well, if you'll excuse...
You've got a funny way of talking, you.
Oi, it's normal. He's a brain, you see. A thinker at that. Seize you round, old man.
So, Holmes, the corpses that have disappeared from the London hospital are used during séances. Nothing to do with organ trafficking.
Yes, it all suggests nothing of the kind is underway in London. In the medical world, all dealings would be visible, not to mention unnecessary. The crook we met confirmed this viewpoint. It's hard to imagine, therefore, that our Whitechapel killer perpetrated these massacres with the goal of selling the organs.
What lead should we follow now, Holmes?
Try to learn more about Tumblety. This squibby should give us some information, but first I must stop the journalist Tom Bulling from harming him. I hope my secret police will soon have some information on him. While we wait, Watson, I would ask you to inform your colleagues of your recent discoveries. It would be good if these morbid ghostly spectacles stopped, and this will need to be done at the London hospital.
You are right, Holmes. Another false lead followed by the police, Holmes? Yesterday's Times says that a John Fitzgerald who had claimed responsibility for the murder of Annie Chapman has finally been released. He was, it says, lying.
That's of little importance, Watson.
It's incredible. It's been more than 3 weeks since the murderer struck, and the tension is as strong as ever. The press won't stop talking about him, and people are still full of fear. Perhaps the killer got what he wanted, people talking about him, and has chosen to stop committing crimes. What do you think, Holmes?
I doubt it, Watson. Everything leads me to believe that he is in hiding and waiting for the right moment. The area is packed with police, and that would obviously hamper his work.
You think he will start again, Holmes?
I have every reason to believe nothing will stop him short of his arrest or his death. Sadly, our investigation has reached a dead end, and I fear that we'll need another victim to get back on track.
Yes, how awful. And what of the case of the burnt mat? Have you resolved that?
Oh, that's a matter of little interest, and resolving will be of no benefit, above all to Miss Fleming. Ha! I hear the footsteps of my faithful Wiggins on the stairs. The game is afoot again, Watson.
Mr. Holmes, the scribbler resurfaced. At last word, Pounce saw him racing to Central News Agency where he works.
Excellent, Wiggins. And still nothing on the doctor?
Sorry, Mr. Holmes. He's one sleek yank, but we'll find him.
Good work. Here's something for you. I must leave you, Watson. If I can get my hands on this Bulling, I will have much more interesting news on the bothersome Tumblety. I have only to change. If you can, Watson, I entreat you to stay here and await my word. We may not be more than two when the time to act comes.
You can count on me, Holmes.
Do I need to get changed? Oh, I'm already changed. Okay.
I must go to the Central News Agency. I'm at the press agency where Bulling works.
Hello.
What do you want?
It would be very informative to search Bulling's desk before meeting him, but first I must get rid of this bothersome person, perhaps by offering him a scoop.
What do you want?
It would be very informative to search Bulling's desk before meeting him, but first I must get rid of this bothersome person, perhaps by offering him a scoop. Good evening. I'm looking for Tom Bulling, the journalist.
He isn't here. He must be sleeping off somewhere. He gave me a tip. He wanted to save a scoop for me. He always gets a good dirt, and yet when he comes in here, it's just to warm his behind. Look, he pulled his desk over the stove.
Scoop.
Listen, Scoop, I'm bringing it over. Only if Bulling isn't here, I'm leaving.
Wait, what's this scoop?
Bulling promised me a reward for info. There's a charlatan who does spiritualist seances that are a little bit special. He steals corpses from the morgue, puts makeup on them, dresses them up, and then uses them as puppets.
I'll give you your dues. We'll pay you if this info is true.
I'll write down the address of the hideout on the crook's leaflet, but the police will be in on this one, so you better get there in time.
Understood. I'll go alone. Too bad for Bulling.
Hey, you wouldn't have a little something in advance?
Look on Bulling's desk. I know that he always leaves a few coins around for his snitches. Cheers.
Watson won't be pleased that I'm divulging the case, but I don't see any other way.
La da 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 da.
I would imagine these are compartments to organize the paper's incoming dispatches. A mirror.
Oh my god, I hate this font. I can barely read it. Mr. Moore, I have noticed that one of your employees, Thomas Bowling, arrived at the meeting in a state of inebriation. I must ask you to take care of your team's discipline. I know that you indulged this journalist given the explosive information that he manages to flush out, but this behavior is unacceptable. This should not repeat itself or I will hold you personally responsible. Oh
Bowling's boss, Mr. Moore, seems to be protecting the journalist.
You shouldn't be protecting journalists. What? You shouldn't be protecting the journalists who risk their lives? What are you talking about?
The fire has almost gone out, but the stove is still burning hot. This is Bowling's desk, the one closest to the stove. Some coins. I will take them. That will avoid suspicion if the journalist returns. This may come in handy. A charred match. These are Bowling's notes. They are of little interest at the moment, but one never knows. The fire has almost gone out, but the stove is still burning hot. Bowling recently used the stove. Queen Victoria, to keep the journalists on their toes, I suppose. A telephone, a device that enables you to talk with anyone in London, provided the receiver has a telephone too. I would imagine these are compartments to organize the paper's incoming dispatches.
Oh. Permit me to defend myself against the slanderous accusations brought against me. You are not lied to regarding the facts. Mr. Bowling spends all of his time in the most odious of pubs, but I am only doing my work as a journalist. It is during these outings that I can find the best information because I am thus in contact with the common man. Let me prove to you, dear boss, that I can bring to this agency what it deserves, the most extraordinary and most stimulating information for.
Even handwriting, yet fairly recognizable. I need more information.
What information? It's all gone. No, it's green, so that means I did everything, right?
A torn piece of blotting paper. Curious. Curious. It looks like someone wanted to destroy this piece of blotting paper that had red ink on it. I can make out a few more letters, but backwards. I need something to help me.
Something to help you? Like a mirror?
By putting this piece of blotting paper in front of the mirror, I can read what is written.
Information, Whitechapel killer. Call telephone WA.
Apparently, our journalist gets his information by telephone too. Sadly, the name is almost erased.
Now? Okay. Tories respond to the Tories who are treating him as a great incumbent. The head of the Tories, he goes round in circles. No? Okay. With regards to the scandal, what did the head of the Whig Party respond? I feel like this is correct. It's just the last two. To the Tories who are treating him, not calling. So I think this one. No, I think I already. In secrecy? Civil servant. I see.
According to Bulling, the head of the Whigs said, "Vote for me, I will be your best representative."
Good. That'll make for a good paper. There is one last question. According to a government social study, civil servants make the best husbands. Why?
Civil servant, that's obviously a start. Wait a minute. What? I can exchange them? I thought they had to go.
I believe I can confirm that it is, because civil servants aren't tired and have already read the paper when they come home from work.
Very true. Good. It seems like Bulling has finally done his work.
As everything is all in order, can you now tell me where the information is that you sent to the agency?
Yes. There is a large brown envelope near the dispatch cabinet. It's in there that we exchange our tips with Bulling.
1,000 thanks. Goodbye, sir.
My salutations to Bulling.
There are several documents in this file. Let's see.
Spring Heel Jack, the Terror of London. Fantastical character first appeared in 1837, associated with several suspicious muggings and robberies taking place in London and other parts of England. Description: a diabolical appearance, bat's wings, horns, blue flames coming out of the mouth and or eyes, etc. Identifying marks: all of the eyewitnesses speak of his capacity to make leaps of superhuman distance, where his nickname. Conclusion: having become the very example of the urban legend of our century, this character fascinates as much by his demonic and fantastical aura as by the fact that he has never been caught by the police. Important: at the time of the attacks against the young woman Lucy Scales and Jane Aslop, the papers covering the events have record sales for their weeks. That's why Spring Heel Jack is the recurring hero of cheap fantasy publications and theater pieces, popular and financial success guaranteed.
I wonder why Bulling is studying this tale about Spring Heel Jack so meticulously.
The Terror of London, Spring Heel Jack, the Phantom Killer, the Butcher's Blade, the Whitechapel Butcher, Dr. Death, the London Ripper, the Bladers, the Blade Runner.
What does that mean?
Mr. Charles Moore, I thank you for this testimony of the Whitechapel Killer that you followed. Not easy authentication. Do not hand over to the press without my invitation. Thank you for your collaboration. With your discretion, we won't forget this. Inspector Aberline.
Well, well, a piece of information about the murders transmitted exclusively to the police without informing the press. That has piqued my curiosity. Perhaps I should go to the police station to get more information.
Tom, about the letter. Given the thanks from Inspector Aveline, I think that they took the bait, even if they were defending themselves. Think of the second. We might be ready if he kills again. Either way, we must keep up the correspondence, be responsive. This idea will save us. We will get the information firsthand, and we will make history. But stay quiet and keep a low profile. I am not really in the know, and you will be the first one who gets it in there. Gets it if there's trouble. CM.
What does that mean? I have inspected everything, but there's no sign of Bulling. He must have dashed off to his HQ, the Wasp's Nest. However, before I go to see him, I should find out about this mysterious information. It could help me get something out of the journalist. To the police station, then.
Wait a minute. This is about the time where it crashes, and I need to redo everything. So I'm just gonna resume, and then Whitechapel police station.
Let's go to the police station.
Yes, police station. Let me move, please. Thank you.
Come, back again, are we? Come this way, good man. The inspector has a few questions to ask you. Here is the man, Inspector.
Congratulations, Humphreys. So, my lad, one would say that you owe us a bit of an explanation for having left something with us. What is your full name and profession?
Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective.
Well, how about that?
Mr. Holmes, can you explain this get-up, your presence in the neighbourhood despite my instructions, as well as this most opportune restitution of jewels?
Firstly, I should tell you that not being under your command, I never understood what you said as an order, but rather as advice. I thought I would be wise to follow them to a certain extent. I intended to explain the stolen goods sooner or later. My presence here will allow me to fill you in on a few conclusions that...
If it is in regard to the Whitechapel murders, it won't help us much. We have no doubt that we will be revealing the identity of the murderer to the people in the area in a day or two.
I'm impressed, Inspector, and I offer you my sincerest congratulations. Nonetheless, you should investigate a certain doctor.
Listen, Holmes, let us do our work. You've rid us of a great pain in the rear end by finding those jewels for us. It's weeks of work that you've saved us. But I think you're a little underqualified for a case like that of Jack the Ripper. Until it's over, I demand that you do not set foot in the area. Is that clear?
I take note of your advice, Inspector. You mentioned Jack the Ripper. Pardon me, but you know the name of the murderer?
Oh, it's from a letter that the Central News Agency sent our way. It was written by the killer. And even if it can't be proven, it must be recognised that the signature is striking. This information is confidential, and I would ask you to keep it to yourself, Holmes.
Can I have a little look? Out of mere curiosity, Inspector. Then I shall disappear.
In that case, I don't see any objection.
Thank you so much.
Chez Patron, 25th September, 1888. I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about Leather Apron gave me real fits. I'm down on whores. Who is that, whores? I'm assuming, and I shan't quit nipping them till I get buckled. I can't read this writing. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha ha. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers just for jolly. When you keep this letter back till I do a little bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Good luck, yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. Won't good enough to before I got all the red ink off my hands. Curse it, no luck yet. P.S. Why can't I read that? Wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands, cause it no luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now, haha.
Me? Not up to discovering who Jack the Ripper is? Well, we'll soon find out, won't we, Inspector Aberline? I know who wrote the Dear Boss letter signed Jack the Ripper that Inspector Aberline gave me, and above all, I now know why. This Tom Bulling was inspired by this fantastical character to build a myth out of the Whitechapel Killer. Perhaps he would be receptive if I shared my discovery about him and prevent him from accusing Squippy. I must find him at once. My best bet would be to try my luck at the pub.
Ah, Holmes, I got your message, and here I am.
Perfect, Watson. That oaf Bluto is looking for us with evil intentions, and he may be hiding here. I will try to get more information inside. You, Watson, will be our lookout, and at the slightest suspicious sound, do not hesitate to call a constable on his rounds.
Hey, you.
Good evening, Mr. Bulling.
We know each other?
No, however, I have some information that may be of interest to you.
Talk, my friend. A pint for you if what you say is worth something. Does it have to do with the Whitechapel murders?
Indeed, I know the identity of the man who wrote a letter to the police, a letter entitled Dear Boss, in which the author claims to be the Whitechapel murderer and is signed Jack the Ripper.
What?
It's a journalist who is inspired by Spring-Heeled Jack in order to strengthen the credibility and the seriousness of his agency. This new Jack will give him some first-hand information that he, in turn, will dole out sparingly to the authorities, as well as some carefully distilled indiscretions that the big papers will come to beg of him. He plays both sides off against one another and becomes the chief orchestrator of the rumour. He wrote this letter in this very spot, and he has red ink on his fingers. Like you.
What exactly are you after, my friend?
You've been threatening a certain Squibby to distribute a telegram naming him as a possible suspect in these murders in revenge for an old feud. I would suggest you don't write this note and that you leave Squibby alone.
I'd forgotten about the existence of that rapscallion. I threw that at him when I was visiting the station to get the dope. You should have seen his face.
You must also stop sending these letters that waste the authorities' precious time.
Right, well, I don't even know what you're talking about. I have a great relationship with the Bobbies. Just ask around. I don't have to answer to nobody. Now leave me alone.
Farewell, sir.
Good riddance.
I think we just leave now, right?
Let's hurry to the police station, Watson. We are close to our goal. Squibby will be able to reveal what he knows about Tumblety. Squibby, so that's it. You're a free man again. We were just coming to the station to find you.
Yeah, the Bobbies agreed to let me go and I came to see Bluto before ferreting you out. So, you've seen the newspaper man?
Yes, he is in the pub and everything is taken care of, but I'm waiting to hear what you have to say about Dr. Tumblety.
Okay, but we have to be quick. One night, I goes to see Bluto in his hideout that ain't far from the boarding house where this Tumblety bloke has a room. I see him coming in too. He must have been on one real binge. To the point, the Tumblety fella was there, and he smiles at me, all nice like. He tells me he's a great Yankee doctor, but my business interests him. I'm interested, I tell him, but I'm not the type to just jump right in without getting to know a person, see? He invites me round to his room to talk business, just him and me. We empty a bottle or two, and all of a sudden, like, he wants to show me what he's got in this big trunk that he always carts around places. I just about vomited, see? In these jars, just like pickles, you know, there were pieces of meat. And he whispers that it's the lady bits of some old dames. He called them peckymins. I call them love killers, I would. Yuck! After that, he starts to go on about rich folk. They ain't nothing but dogs, and I won't tell you the worst of it. Then he comes all close to me and puts his sweaty hand on my leg. He was one of them types, not me. I don't wait a second before I give him a good thrashing, and I start running and let go of him, and he still wants to see me again just to talk business. But then I had to do time, so business.
Do you know where he can be found?
Why, ain't he in his digs? Maybe he got to liking life behind bars too. I heard that in some jobs there's a way to.
Thank you for your information, and we'll meet again, my friend. Here is the sum I promised to get you out of London.
Ciao, fella. I've just got a little score to settle with Bluto, and I'm heading for the country.
What the hell's happening?
Lipsky!
My dear Watson, we must strike while the iron is hot. We have avoided meeting Dr. Tumblety until now. The time has come to do so.
Do you have an opinion, Holmes?
We must assure ourselves that the factor collector of female organs and a murderer who removes said organs are resident in the same area at the same time is nothing more than coincidence.
I thought that you wouldn't bring me back your keys. Oh, it's you, Mr. Holmes. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
The key.
Indeed, it is I again. One of your tenants left without returning his keys?
Yes, it's Dr. Tumblety whom we spoke about. Shortly after your last visit here, some constables came and asked me a few questions regarding him. Barely had they left than the doctor came barreling around a street corner and rushed up into his room upstairs. A little while afterwards, while I was tidying, I heard a thud in his room and a rush down the stairs. He left with most of his bags, but without returning his keys. You can go up and see if you wish. The door is still open.
Careful, Watson. Do not walk around here until I've inspected these marks.
I know, Holmes, I know. I understand your methods. Ah, you have your rule and magnifying glass. I thought that you had forgotten them, Holmes.
I never forget the essentials, my dear Watson. Right foot, light trails. The man was running. Right foot, light trails. The man was running. Size 13. Size 13.
Ah, you have your rule and magnifying glass. I thought that you had forgotten them, Holmes.
I never forget the essentials, my dear Watson. Right foot, light trails. The man was running. This isn't water. Going by its sticky texture and odour, I'd say we're dealing with formalin. These are the footprints of a tall man who had recently stepped in formalin and who left this room in a hurry.
Well, can I walk on it and enter the room now, Holmes?
Yes, we can. Do not understand how you found yourself in this situation. Your passionate discussions on the legitimacy of this war should have convinced more than one. I still remember when you imitated him during that meeting. You struck that very characteristic pose and you exclaimed, "Vicksburg is the key. The war can never be brought to a close until that key is in our pocket." We all applauded. I am sure that even Lincoln himself would have applauded. During these dark hours, it was rare to have the occasion to laugh. So many deaths, ending with our much-loved president killed by this coward and left to join those of the victory at Gettysburg, who courageously fell so that the next day the key would be in our pocket.
If this letter is addressed to him, it would appear our doctor is a veteran of the American Civil War. Vicksburg is the key. Now, that is interesting.
Dear Francis, it is impossible for us to meet again. I am feeling terrible, as pursuing our relationship further would put both my marriage and my reputation in danger. I must return to that life of love, fleeting and physical, in which a few coins to these young men assure corporal peace and anonymity. These growing feelings that I have for you make me scared, and I would prefer to shun this passion for the fear that it may never leave me. Perhaps we shall cross paths again one day in a discreet location where like-minded men meet. I know that you frequent them regularly. You never hide yourself. For my past, I will spend more time with my wife and girls in order to find the serenity, and I hope to throw the veil of oblivion over our passionate embraces. All the best, Charles. My dear Francis, it is putting aside our common past and thus as a friend that I am sending you these words. I have learned from some mutual friends of your recent trouble with the law. You should be more careful. England has nothing in common with the Wild West, but her seedy areas can be just as dangerous. Your attraction to young rogues will cost you dearly one of these days, whether it be at the end of an alley or on the benches of a jury. A man of your quality and fortune does not have to frequent the hovels and bring his pistol with him everywhere. It is not necessary to use violence to find partners unless this violence pleases you. Certain circles that we used to frequent are still open to you. Take advantage of this healthy and respectable company rather than demeaning yourself with these destitute lads. And pray get rid of that god-awful chest. You know that the people to whom you show while bragging must think and speak of it. The man you once loved, Henry.
This Dr. Tumblety seems to be attracted to men more than women, that much is clear. So, the doctor has a handgun, and he would use it to restrain young men, perhaps. There are a few pieces of a large glass jar in this puddle. The man who left the footprints on the ground must have walked in it while fleeing. Going by its size, this enormous trunk must be a wardrobe. These brackets are rather unusual. What do you think, Watson?
Let's see, Holmes. These are the names of the battles from the American Civil War.
What?
Let's see. 5 latches, each fitted with a 6-number combination system.
Oh, I can also change the flags. There's 6 of them.
I am under the impression that the dates written correspond to the battles, Holmes, but one is missing. I am under the impression that the dates written correspond to the battles, Holmes, but one is missing.
Is this one the victory? Oh my god. Do I have to know American history or know a lot about history in order to pass that? Because I don't think I do.
Going by its size, this enormous trunk must be a wardrobe.
Okay, new puzzle time. Put that down for a second.
I am under the impression that the dates written correspond to the battles, Holmes, but one is missing.
Like one battle or one number? I'm assuming one battle, which is this one. Ah, okay. Okay, let's see. Romero, the key. I think it's saying this one's the victory. So, it'd be 1, 6, 8.
Going by its size, this enormous trunk must be a wardrobe.
How do I figure you out? Oh, do you only need the first 3 numbers? Because there's the little line underneath this one, so maybe, but that doesn't make sense to me. Oh well. Which one did it say? Victory? Vicksburg is the key.
Going by its size, this enormous trunk must be a wardrobe.
So 12 or no. Do I have to look this one up too and figure out how to do it?
I am under the impression that the dates written correspond to the battles, Holmes, but one is missing.
Is one really missing? Again, I have to look it up. God. I hate being dumb. I hate this. Really? You have to be... So you actually have to, like, know... Like, these are the dates of the wars and everything, but you have to know, like, legitimately, like, everything about them in order to get... Why? That's such a dick move. I'm cheating again. That one. That one. Let me see. I feel like such a cheater, but I know I would never solve this. No, I skipped it. This one. This one.
Elementary.
I want it to be known, I did not figure that out at all.
This is dreadful, Holmes. This trunk contains 4 jars in which organs are floating.
Watson, can you tell me at a glance what these organs are?
I would say that they are parts of female reproductive organs.
Are these specimens fresh?
No, and I am quite certain of it. From the colour and appearance, I'd say these organs have been in these jars for several months, if not years.
Let's go to Baker Street.
Is there someone here?
Yes.
What's going on, Finley? You seem to be in a panic.
The 2 police officers wanted to know if someone suspicious had entered here. The Whitechapel killer has struck again, and if I understood correctly, he killed 2 women in the past few hours.
Where?
I don't know. The police didn't tell me anything.
Quick, Holmes. We must catch up with them.
Certainly not, Watson. Mr. Finley, do you know if the doctor had any other pieces of luggage up there apart from this trunk?
1 or 2, I think.
Do you take care of the doctor's laundry?
My wife does laundry for the tenants once a week. The sheets likewise.
Would you be kind enough to let us know as soon as possible if the doctor shows up again?
Certainly. I'm just worried that he won't be back, you see, and I'm annoyed about my keys.
Holmes, I don't follow. The Whitechapel killer is, at this very moment, very close by, and we are just staying put, twiddling our thumbs.
The Whitechapel killer has always been nearby, and what will we do? Go back to the scene of the crime or crimes and mix with the onlookers and trample the crime scenes even more? No, our time will come. Let's return to Baker Street.
Let's go back to Baker Street. Home, sweet home.
The Fade the Black!
We
No!
were less than 200 feet away from the first victim a few minutes before she was murdered. We might even have heard the murderer's voice, and we haven't done a thing for the past week.
You're the one not doing anything, Watson. For my part, I have been working, and, as you know, I've made good use of this week by tracking down and verifying all of the solid facts on these 2 murders to write up the notes that are on my desk, read them over again, and try to gain a bit of perspective.
Note on the murder of Liz Stride in Dutfield's yard. Certain information that I have collected must be verified. Liz Stride, nickname Long Liz, 45 years old, height 5 feet 5 inches. Occasional prostitute. She lived for the past 3 years in a stormy relationship with a certain Kidney, a waterside laborer, 36 years of age, whom she left a few days earlier. She charged him with assault but failed to appear in court, and the case was thrown out. The victim was discovered dead by one Louis Dimschutz at 1 o'clock in the morning on September 30th. The man's first thought was to verify if it was his wife. And the building next door was still alive before sounding the alarm. The 2 doctors who came at the police's request to the scene of the crime in the moments after the discovery of the corpse put the time of death Put the time of death after 12:46 a.m. Cause of death: hemorrhage due to a throat injury. The weapon was a small knife with a large blunt edge. The verification of this statement is necessary. Could this wound have been caused by another tool? Neither the body nor the clothes were damaged, soiled, or disturbed by the killer. The right hand was open, stained with blood, and resting on the chest. The left hand was on the ground, partially closed, holding a packet of pastels. The location of the discovery was a courtyard called Dutfield's Yard, whose doors led into Burner Street in Whitechapel. The victim was found stretched out on the ground a few inches from the wall of one of the buildings served by this courtyard, the International Working Men's Club. This association, composed mainly of Jews originally from Russia and Poland, were organizing a conference that night on the subject, "Why Should Jews Be Socialists?" presided by Mr. Morris Eagle. The meeting ended around 11:30 p.m., but many members remained to debate and sing within the premises of the association. An American present that evening declared to have been in the courtyard at 12:20 a.m. and went into the street and didn't see anything unusual. He then returned back inside the club, but his estimation of time spent outside is approximation at best. 2 witnesses were quoted by the press: Constable Smith, who was doing his rounds in the area on the night in question, and a Hungarian by the name of Schwartz, who made a statement at the police station accompanied by an interpreter because he does not speak English. The transcription of these statements by the press should be treated with caution. It would be advisable, if at all possible, to consult the exact content. Observe the clothing worn by the victim as well as her position at the time of the discovery of the body. Clothing: long black cloth jacket, fur trimmed around the bottom with a red rose and white maidenhair, fern pinned to it, black skirt, black crepe bonnet, check neck scarf knotted on left side, dark brown velveteer bodice, 2 light serge petticoats. 1 white chemise. I've never read these words. You can tell I don't know English. White stockings, spring-sided boots, 2 handkerchiefs. One is noticed to have fruit stains on it. A thimble, a piece of wool wound around a cord. In the pocket in her underskirt, a key, a small piece of lead pencil, 6 large and 1 small button, a comb, a broken piece of comb, a metal spoon, a hook as from a dress, a piece of muslin, 1 or 2 small pieces of paper. Oh my god! Note on the murder of Catherine Eddowes. Catherine Eddowes, 46 years old, height 5 feet, occasional prostitute. She had a regular relationship for 7 years with one John Kelly, a man who no regular employment and about the same age as the victim. The victim was found dead at 1:44 a.m. on September 30th by P.C. Wilkins, who was on his rounds. He secured the area by calling to the watchman of the warehouse located some feet from the crime scene. According to the doctor who arrived on the scene at 2:18 a.m., the victim had just been dead for a half hour. Unlikely, but we know from experience how hard it is to precisely establish the time of death when the corpse has been very mistreated. Cause of death: hemorrhage due to a throat wound. The medical examiner also confirmed that additionally the extractions committed on the corpse were done post-mortem by a right-handed man possessing a long-bladed knife. The victim was subject to numerous mutilations. The victim was found stretched out in a dark corner of Mitre Square, notorious meeting spot for prostitutes and their clients because of its remote, poorly lit location. It should be noted that the victim was freed from the Bishopgate Street Police drunk tank at 1 o'clock in the morning. Mitre Square was visited at 1:30 a.m. by P.C. Wilkins coming from Mitre Street, at 1:42 a.m. by P.C. Harvey coming from Church Passage. The two police constables didn't see anything suspicious in the area, but it should be noted that P.C. Harvey didn't enter the Mitre Square, unlike P.C. Wilkins. The watchman who came to lend a hand to Wilkins at the time of the discovery of the body had been awoken during the time of the crime. His door is located a few feet from the spot where the victim was dying and didn't hear anything until the police's call. Firstly, he must note that the clothing worn by Catherine Eddowes are very characteristic. I think in particular the patterned green chintz skirt as well as the white men's vest. A few of her possessions, including the thimble, were found around the corpse. The white apron was found on the corpse with a part missing. Thus, this missing part previously resewn, thus ensuring authenticity, was found at 2:55 a.m. on the night of the murder by P.C. Alfred Long, who states that the object wasn't there at his preceding patrol at 2:20 a.m. The piece of bloody apron was found in the entrance hall leading to the stairs of 108-119 Wentworth Model Dwellings on Glunston Street. At the right of the entrance, just above the apron, was found the following inscription in chalk. The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. The Wentworth Model Dwellings building being almost exclusively occupied by Israelites, and Gunston Street being the site of a very popular, much frequented market. He decided to erase the inscription before the day broke. Kate Eddowes' belongings. Wearing at the time of her murder, black straw bonnet trimmed in green and black velvet with black beads, black string worn tied to the head, black cloth jacket trimmed around the collar and cuffs with imitation far and around the pockets in a black silk braid they need to make a different font. I can't read this font, it's so difficult. Large metal buttons, dark green shin skirt, 3 Florence's brown button on waistland. The skirt is patterned with Michaelmas daisies and golden lilies. Man's white vest, matching buttons down front. Brown linsey bodice, black velvet collar with brown buttons down front. Gray staff petticoat with white waistband. Very old gray alpaca skirt worn as undergarment. Very old ragged blue skirt with Fred Florence's light twill lining worn as undergarment. White calico chemise. Pair of men's lace-up boots. Mohair laces. Right boot repaired with red thread. 1 piece of red gauze silk worn as a neckerchief. 1 large white pocket handkerchief. 1 white cotton handkerchief with red and white bird's eye border. 2 unbleached calico pocket tape strings. 1 blue striped bed ticking pocket. Brown ribbon knee stockings darned with white cotton. possessions: 2 small blue bags, 2 short black clay pipes, 1 tin box containing tea, 1 tin box containing sugar, 1 tin matchbox empty, 12 pieces of white rag, 1 piece coarse lined white, 1 piece of blue and white shirting, 3 cornered, 1 piece red flannel and with pins and needles, 6 pieces of soap, 1 small tooth comb, 1 white handle with table knife, 1 metal spoon, 1 red leather cigarette case with white metal fittings, 1 ball hemp, 1 piece of old white apron with repair, several buttons, and a thimble. Mustard tin containing two pawn tickets, 1 in the name of Emily Barrow, 52 Whites Road, dated August 31st, 9D for a man's flannel shirt. The other is in the name of Jane Kelly of 6 Dorset Street and dated September 28th for a pair of men's boots. Both address are false. Printed handbill, portion of a pair of spectacles, and 1 red mitten.
I have read and reread them, but give me something to do then. A task where I can get stuck in, because...
Find me a slaughterhouse that will give us exclusive use of its block for an hour. And find me, in your opinion, which common animal shares the most characteristics with humans from a physiological point of view?
Pig?
I don't even know why I asked that question. Pray, find a dozen fresh pig's heads, Watson. Not big heads, I prefer small ones.
Sows?
That's it, Watson. As soon as you have done that, let me know. I request that you search in Whitechapel. Who knows? Perhaps you will learn something about where Dr. Tumblety may be hiding. There is also no shortage of slaughterhouses and pig's heads in those parts.
I swear, I hate the font in this game. I hate how dumb it makes me feel. But I think that's also a good thing, since it's just showing me how ignorant I am of the world. I think there's a butcher right here, so let's just go here.
What a ridiculous idea to have asked Holmes for something to do. Where on earth am I going to find what he wants? Perhaps that kind Lucy will be able to help me.
Maybe she's at work?
Good evening, Lucy. But is something wrong?
Good evening, Dr. Watson. Yes, it's my uncle. He's no longer with us.
Please accept my condolences, miss.
Thank you, Doctor. But why are you here? Can I help you?
Butchers?
My request may sound rather strange, but do you know if there is a butcher's or slaughterhouse in the area where pigs are killed?
Yes, Fletcher's the man. He was a regular client, owner of a little butcher's shop not far. But Miss Bella didn't want him to come, as long as he didn't treat his awful sickness.
Can you point to his shop on my map?
Certainly.
Murder?
Do you know anything about the 2 latest murders?
Oh, goodness me, no. All the girls in the neighbourhood are terrified. Who will be next? That's what everyone is asking.
Goodbye, Lucy.
Until next time, perhaps, Doctor.
Who are you?
I have nothing to ask.
I have something to ask. How are you? What's your day? How's your day going? Do you want to share some marijuana? I don't fucking know. Wait a minute, is it just on Palmer's Butcher?
Ah, there's Fletcher's butcher shop.
I was headed in the right direction.
Closed due to illness. If the proprietor is ill, the butcher's block is probably not being used. Perhaps I can use it. Now, where could a sick butcher have got to?
I don't know, maybe the clinic next door. Lady, what are you doing?
I have nothing to ask. Yes, if Fletcher is ill, he should be here.
Fletcher, wherefore art thou?
Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Dr. Gibbons. I have come to see you because I was wondering if, by any chance, you happen to have a patient by the name of Fletcher, a butcher who would have relinquished his shop due to illness. An illness caught during nocturnal encounters, if you catch my drift.
Fletcher is one of the regulars at the clinic. Mercury treatment against syphilis. A night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. He left London a fortnight ago for the fresh country air. Why is he of interest to you?
Oh, no reason. I'm more interested in using his shop, only for an hour or so. Would he have left his keys with family in the area?
He has none left, but he must have left Hardiman, the cat's meat seller, to oversee his shop. They're in business, they're good friends.
Do you know where he can be found?
No, but wander around the neighbourhood and listen for his beeps. He often passes in front of the clinic. Besides...
No.
It's me that you're looking for, sweetheart.
Hardiman?
Actually, no. I am looking for the cat food seller, Hardiman.
Hardiman? Poor Hardiman? It isn't quitting time for him yet. That gives me some time to wander the streets before he shows up, and with him all the cats hereabouts.
Where does Hardiman live?
Do you know where he lives?
Sure. And for a copper, I might even tell you.
Here are a few coins.
You're too kind, Governor. Well, these days I knows that he lives with his mammy on Hanbury Street, in the same place where Dark Annie bled to death.
Poor Hardiman?
Why did you call him Poor Hardiman?
Bah! He's in grieving, of course. Just a few weeks ago he lost his wife, and 3 months before that his girl, poor fella. He was in tatters. Even came to cry on my shoulder, believe it or not.
Well, I must leave you. I must go to Hanbury Street.
Cool. Wait a minute. That's somewhere out here? No? Just, I don't remember where Hanbury Street is. Whitechapel Street. No. I don't think it's down here.
I have nothing to ask.
Did I miss something?
Berner Street. I must go to Hanbury Street. This is the building in which poor Annie Chapman was killed.
Beep beep. Beep beep.
Hello, are you Mr. Hardiman?
That's me.
Fletcher.
I am Dr. Watson. I have come to see you about Fletcher's shop. I would like to use it for an hour or two, if you have the keys and your rates are reasonable.
Do you want to operate on someone in the butcher's?
Not at all. One of my friends needs it to prepare pig's heads.
Well, why not? Fletcher certainly wouldn't mind, but there's a problem.
What is the problem?
A problem? How so?
This morning, the neighbour above broke his key in the door. The old boy must have already had a drink.
So?
Well, I tried my best to unjam it with Fletcher's spare key, which is pretty thin, and bam, that one broke too.
Hard luck. But if you have the end of the broken key, perhaps it can be fixed.
It must still be upstairs. I didn't pick it up. Fletcher has a key too, so I didn't think it was a problem. Fancy, if I just had another key with a simpler blade, I could copy it. I'm great at odd jobs.
Fine, I will try to find all of that.
Goodbye.
Well, see you later then.
Goodbye, sir.
So wait a minute.
Oh, no. But what a... Oh, how dreadful.
What's dreadful?
Kebabs, the same as Hardiman's. So he prepares his meat here. My word, these are innards. This bag contains butcher's equipment. Where can I find a key with a simpler blade? On a worthless door, perhaps. This key was left inadvertently. Indeed, there is nothing terribly precious inside. But what a stench!
Have you found everything I need to remake the key?
The key.
There you go. I think you'll manage with all of this.
I'm sure I will, sir. It won't take me long.
The butcher's a
Say,
staff.
I think there's some of your business upstairs.
Oh, you're right. I ain't had the time to sort it out. Sometimes I'm in such a hurry to prepare my meat that I forget to clean up.
But why do it in the stairwell?
Offal bleeds bucket loads, they do, as you've seen. Now, why would I do that in my own lodgings?
Ah, of course. But what about your poor neighbours?
They owe it to me, all the times I've helped them out. And I don't have a shop either.
Pig's heads.
Say, you sell animal meat, isn't that right? Would you know where I could find a dozen small pig's heads?
The guy who gets me my offal should have some.
I'll pay your day's wages if you meet me at Fletcher's butcher shop in 2 hours with the pig's heads. Here's a little advance.
I'll do my best, Doctor.
Your building.
The caretaker of another building told us that the place where your mother lives has a reputation for facilitating prostitutes' activities. Is that true?
Sure, the doors are never closed. They come through here like it's Paddington Station.
By the way, I heard about your loss. My condolences.
Ta, sir. I saw them die slow deaths. My little girl, her face was eaten by the disease.
Thank you, my friend, and please forgive me for bringing up such painful memories.
Go, I must do my rounds, and I will look for what you've asked for.
As for me, I will go and find Holmes, and we will go to the butcher's together. Let's return to Fletcher's butcher shop.
Your heads are on the block inside. Say, you wouldn't be the same chap who bought my whole load the other day.
It's possible, but if you want to continue to do business together, you mustn't speak of my presence in the area to anyone.
Don't worry, my lord. I'll be as quiet as a church mouse.
Holmes, will you explain the reason and rhyme behind this masquerade?
Elementary. We shall conduct an experiment that will allow us to answer a simple question. Does the type of weapon used by the killer correspond to a specific profession? And here are our sow's heads. Congratulations, Watson.
You're welcome, Holmes, but what do you really want to do? Take up a collection?
There is nothing further to find in this room, Watson. However, I need some knives. Our only hope is behind this door. This wheel is broken and prevents the door from sliding. This wheel is broken and prevents the door from sliding. This wheel is broken and prevents the door from sliding. There, this door is slightly raised. There is nothing further to find in this room, Watson. However, I need some knives. Our only hope is behind this door. This wheel is broken and prevents the door from sliding. This wheel is broken and prevents the door from sliding.
Well then, replace it, Sherlock. Replace the wheel, Sherlock.
I need something. Elementary. While I prepare our experiment, could you find me 2 knives? A small one, somewhat larger than a pocket knife, with a large, sharp blade. We'll need it to separate the bones and to cut through the thick skins. Then find me a long knife that's at least 13 inches long, no shorter, that's sharp and has a thick blade.
Fine, Holmes, but I'd like to tell you about Hardiman. Do you know that he prepares his kebabs himself, and...
That he owns butcher's tools and uses offal? That's obvious, Watson. Pray, take my magnifying glass and my rule and get started, Watson. Find me these 2 knives.
And what, Watson? We already deducted that. Sherlock would hate me. So let's see. Our sharp blade. This one? This one?
No, Holmes only needs 2 knives.
Oh. Did I really just pick the right ones immediately? Because I don't think I did. There we go. I was like, wait, did I pick the best ones immediately? Oh my god, I'm so smart. A small one, somewhat larger than a pocket knife with a large sharp blade.
With the rule, I must find a large knife. Size, 13 inches. Thanks to the magnifying glass, I can find a small knife that matches Holmes's description. Large size. Fragments of cartilage. Large size. Fragments of cartilage. Fragments of cartilage. Fragments of cartilage.
I think that's the one? I think I found them.
Here are the knives you asked for. Be careful, they're awfully sharp. Holmes, I must say that this experiment is making me rather uneasy, comparing animal heads to these poor women.
You're right, Watson, but this somewhat shocking experiment may help to end this massacre and save other victims, you can be sure of that. Look, these pigs' heads are still bloody, which will suit our experiment perfectly. I have a pocket knife and a scalpel with me. With the two knives you just brought me, we have a similar array of weapons as those probably used by the killer. We saw 3 types of throat wounds on the deceased attributed to this man. Those intended to slit the throat, those intended to decapitate, and the more superficial yet mortal wound that led to the death of the unfortunate victim in Dutfield's yard, Miss Stride. With the help of these 4 knives, we are going to try to recreate these wounds on the pigs' heads and see what we can establish about the weapon or weapons used. We may also be able to rule out Miss Stride as a victim of the killer of the other 3. Let's try to use these weapons on this head to obtain a large deep wound to the throat, like those that were noted on 3 of the 4 victims.
Yeah.
This little knife is very sharp and has a very wide blade. This little knife is very sharp and has a very wide blade. This pocket knife is very sharp, but its blade is too thin. The wound is too shallow. Look, Watson, this knife easily penetrates the flesh. Elementary. Let's try to decapitate our victim with these tools, knowing that the killer didn't quite manage to do it.
Charming.
Look, Watson, this little knife with a wide base can easily slice the vertebrae of our porcine friend. The blade of this pocket knife is too thin to reach the vertebrae. With a scalpel, the wound is too shallow. This knife with a long blade easily slices the flesh, but cannot dislocate the vertebrae.
miss something?
Look, Watson, this little knife with a wide base can easily slice the vertebrae of our porcine friend.
So this one's not.
The blade of this pocket knife is too thin to reach the vertebrae. With a scalpel, the wound is too shallow. This knife with a long blade easily slices the flesh, but cannot dislocate the vertebrae. Elementary.
Hooray! I did it!
Let's see if these knives can inflict a mortal wound in a situation where a single quick blow is given. The scenario in question is that of Dutfield's yard. Look, Watson, the blade sinks easily into the flesh. In using the cutting edge of this pocket knife's blade, I can scrape the skin. This particularly sharp blade can make a deep gash with one quick slice. It cuts through the flesh easily as the blade is so sharp. Elementary.
This one.
That's it, Watson, the big knife. With respect to the opinion of the medical examiners who noted that a butcher's knife with a long blade would have caused the eviscerations on some of the victims, we can assume, Watson, that he only used this type of weapon as it is capable of inflicting all of the wounds displayed. Furthermore, the Dutfield's Yard murder remains attributable, for the moment, to the Whitechapel killer, if we are able to explain why the murderer used his knife in a different manner. Why not go there now? We will try to reenact the killer's actions that night. Our first objective will be to clarify, one way or another, the statements of Constable Smith, as well as this Hungarian by the name of Schwartz. We must also try to find out more about the International Working Men's Educational Club, underneath which the murder took place, perhaps at the Wasp's Nest.
Yes, let's go to Dutfield's Yard or wherever, but quickly. I am in urgent need of fresh air.
Let's go to the Wasp's Nest.
What's happening? What's happening? Who are you people?
Don't forget that Bluto may still be hiding here. I will try to find out more inside. You, Watson, must intercept the policeman on his rounds. Given the hour and a bit of luck, it will be Smith. Try to get some information from him.
Understood, Holmes.
Hello.
I know you. You're Squibby's guardian angel. You weren't dressed the same last time, but I don't forget a face. No hard feelings, huh? Join me in a glass?
Jack the Ripper.
Your Jack the Ripper is on everyone's lips and written in all of the papers. You must be awfully proud of yourself. You have skill, that's for certain. It's a shame you use it to mask rather than discover the truth.
You better believe that I'm going to find out who it is. I got a hold of old Schwartz's interpreter. You know, the Hungarian who saw Liz Stride get it. Doesn't speak a word of English. And when he went round to the station, another Jew went along to interpret. I found that bloke, and he repeated everything that had been said at the station. It won't be long before I find these fellows.
Many people.
Why do you say these fellows? Were there several of them?
Do you not read the papers, or what? Well, given the rubbish that you read sometimes. Let me explain. At 12:45 a.m., Schwartz goes down Burner Street towards Fairclough, on the side of the road where the Workers' Club is. A bit further from there, just near Dutfield Yard's wooden doors, a chap and a lady are arguing. The Star said that the bloke wanted to push the girl into Dutfield's Yard, but the translator told me that Schwartz saw him pulling her towards the road. She doesn't want to follow. He grabs her by the shoulders and throws her to the ground. She falls a bit, but not too loudly. Old Schwartz is scared, crosses to the other side, but continues in the same direction. The bloke with the girl notices him and yells, "Lipsky!" At the same time, another bloke at the corner of Fairclough and Burner who was lighting his pipe gets in on the action. He starts coming towards Schwartz in a menacing way, and Schwartz takes to his heels, doesn't see anything else. Once he finds out that a woman got herself killed, he went to testify and identified Long Liz Stride as the woman he saw getting thrown about. So there were definitely two blokes, mate. But why am I telling you all this?
In vino veritas.
Goodbye.
I'll take my leave then, Mr. Bulling.
That's right. Till next time.
If you're looking for some company, Gov, you've come to the wrong place. Me, I'm just here to pour. I don't care who you is, I knows nothing, and I don't care neither.
A draught, my good man.
Here, sir.
Tell me, was it not a mere stone's throw away from here that the Whitechapel killer struck last week?
That'd be Jack the Ripper, that's his name. Slit the throat of a working girl in a small courtyard over there behind them big wooden doors.
Below the Workers' Club?
The very spot, below Lipsky and Co. I wouldn't be surprised if Jack was one of them, if you catch my drift.
Lipsky?
Lipsky and Company. Do you mean to say that someone called Lipsky runs this club?
Nah, it's just that it's full of Jews. In Whitechapel, we call them all Lipskys, like that Lipsky who killed that girl in Batty Street last year.
Oh, really?
Last year, a Jew named Israel Lipsky killed a lass who was 6 months pregnant by making her drink acid. One trial and one protest by rabbis later, and he was hanging. By those who don't much like him, the Jews are called Lipskys.
Is the term Lipskys used to refer to the Jews in the area, and is this club frequented by Jews?
You got it. Socialist Jews even. They spend their evenings hollering, singing. I've seen them spitting on the bosses.
The victim.
And you know the victim?
No more her than any other. The working girls don't drum up business too much in this street. They need a reason to end up here.
Goodbye.
Very well. Goodbye.
Cheers.
First and foremost, I must find P.C. Smith.
Is that you?
Good evening, Constable.
Good evening, sir.
I am Dr. Watson. Would you happen to be P.C. Smith, the man who patrols this beat?
That's me. And you work with the famous Sherlock Holmes, don't you? What can I do for you?
Time of death?
I believe you were on duty the night when the murder took place here. You would certainly be able to confirm a few details, such as the time of death that the medical examiner gave.
It's just that I wasn't there when the body was discovered. I don't think I can help you.
The victim?
But I was told that you had seen the victim that very night.
Indeed. But it was before the murder. I saw her, not far from here. She was talking to a man. It was around 12:30 or 12:35 a.m.
A man?
What did this man look like?
I only saw him from behind, really. He was wearing a short black outfit, a small felt hat like a cap in a dark colour, and a white collar. He seemed to be a respectable type. He was carrying a packet in his hand, wrapped in newspaper, about 18 inches long and about 6 inches wide.
His outfit reminds me of someone that I know. Was he a large man, on the older side?
I don't think so, no. Even though I only saw him from behind, I would say that he was barely 30 years old, or even less. Say 28, or even less. 26 years old, and 5 foot 8 inches tall at the very most. He had a small dark brown moustache and an olive complexion, I would say, but once again, I only caught a brief glimpse of his face in three-quarter profile.
Who else saw this man?
Nobody else saw this man?
I discussed this previously with Mr. Eagle, the president of the Workers' Club. That night he returned around 12:40 a.m. to the club. He used the passage through Dutfield's yard to get into the club because the main door was locked. He can attest that he didn't see anyone else in the passage at that time, but wasn't really paying attention to who else might have been in Burner Street itself. He was listening to the song coming from the club. In short, no one else saw him.
Well, thank you for having satisfied my curiosity, my friend.
A fine evening to you, Doctor.
Well, Watson, let's go to Dutfield's yard. Dutfield's Yard. Burner Street. Your interrogation of P.C. Smith has proven to be very shrewd and of great interest. Thanks to the information I've managed to gather and that you were able to read in my notes in Baker Street, Watson, we can recreate what happened that fateful night at this location, Dutfield's Yards to be precise, the site of Liz Stride's murder.
Part of me is like, yay, but part of me is like, no. So this would be 1 o'clock.
12:45 a.m., Schwartz runs away, followed for a short distance by this man. 1 a.m., Mr. Diemschutz wants to enter with his cart, but the pony refuses. We know that the murder took place between 12:45 and 1 a.m. Mr. Diemschutz, therefore, must have disturbed the killer.
Ooh. Midnight.
Midnight, the Socialist Club meeting ends. The members, mainly Jewish men, gradually begin to leave the club in little groups or alone.
The American goes out for some air. No one is in the street.
12:20 a.m., the American leaves the Socialists Club for some fresh air. The street is deserted.
12:30, 12:35 a.m. P.C. Smith sees Liz Stride speaking to a man. He looked like a man.
12:30 to 12:35 a.m., Smith notices Liz Stride talking to the man with the package. 12:40 a.m., Eagle, the president of the club, enters the Workers' Club via the passageway through Dutfield's Yard. He passed through Dutfield's Yard. If Liz Stride had already been killed, he would have had to walk over her. The murder, therefore, had not yet happened.
Schwartz passes by Dutfield's Yard as the attack.
12:43 a.m., Israel Schwartz passes by Dutfield's Yard and witnesses the attack on Liz Stride. 12:44 a.m., Schwartz crosses to the other side of the road. The attacker sees him and yells, "Lipsky." The attacker must have shouted to his accomplice at the end of the road, "Lipsky," indicating at Schwartz using his head in an attempt to scare off this undesirable. Let's place Liz Stride's murder on the timeline, Watson.
What? Oh, so it had to be somewhere around here.
12:45 to 1 a.m., the murder of Liz Stride. It took place in this very spot, as the traces of blood were very confined. We will come back to this point in a few moments to elaborate on what could have happened. Well, we are still missing certain information in order to finish this investigation, Watson.
Yes, Watson. Nothing over here. Okay, fine.
This door leads to the Club for Jewish Socialist Workers. Watson, imagine the victim laid down there on the ground. Her left hand, it is closed around a bag of pastils. Her right hand, it is bloody, as is her wrist.
Close.
Her right hand, it is bloody, as is her wrist. The ground is muddy. The throat, there is but one clean cut, slightly slanted downwards. The throat, there is but one clean cut, slightly slanted downwards. The ground is muddy.
Haven't found everything.
The throat, there is but one clean cut, slightly slanted downwards. Her knees and dress, they are clean.
When in doubt, frantically start clicking everywhere. Conclusions. Oh my god, where am I going? Inventory. Deductions. Okay. The knees and the bottom of the dress at the front are clean. The ground is dirty. The victim was careful. The victim didn't struggle. The victim was killed upright. Elstride had her back to the killer. Elstride and her murderer were lying down at the moment. Lol. Elstride. I think. The wound on the neck is clean, starting from the right and slightly oblique and descending. Yeah, that feel. There is only one wound and it proved to be mortal. The victim had her neck wrung. Murder struck the blow from below, above, this one. And the victim, the killer is shorter than the victim. No. What? One of these is wrong. Oh well. The killer is right-handed. There we go. At least I know this is correct. Murder is strong. Weak man, strong man is woman, strong man. The bloody right hand and wrist. The carotid wasn't slit. The victim was bleeding from the nose. The victim had her hand out. The victim put her hand on her throat. The knife blade used was thin. It's thick. This one was thin? Okay. This is correct. This one's correct. I wouldn't say it's superficial because it looked like it killed her. From below. Maybe this one instead? The victim was careful, didn't struggle on the ground because she was dead when she hit the ground. That's my thought process. The victim wasn't careful. It's like this one. The victim was killed. Killer, the stride and murder were lying down at the moment of the mortal blow.
We have two possibilities. The first is that Liz Stride's killer and the attacker, seen by Schwartz, were one and the same man. The second is that Liz Stride meets a client. After some discussion, they head towards Dutfield's yard to do their business. As soon as they arrive, the attacker appears while his accomplice keeps watch. Schwartz's arrival dissuades the two men from lingering. They leave the area and leave Liz Stride in a tense state, but glad to have kept her client. He will be her murderer. Both hypotheses are possible, but an incongruous detail will serve to corroborate one of them. An incongruous detail that we were able to establish regarding the Hanbury Street murder. Which one would that be, Watson? Look at the victim carefully, Watson, and tell me the link between the murder of Liz Stride and those of Nichols and Chapman.
Oh, so Sherlock and Watson noticed different things? I did not catch on to that until now.
No, that's not it. No, that's not it.
The bag of pastels, Holmes?
The bag of pastels. Indeed, Watson. If this woman had to defend herself against an attacker, why would she have held onto this bag in her hand? It didn't fall because this woman's hand tensed at the moment when she fell to the ground. Therefore, Watson, we know the killer distracted his victim's attention by making them take something out of their pockets. Why didn't he slit her throat like the others? He must have feared a struggle with this strong-willed woman. Why didn't he eviscerate her? Because Louis Diemschutz arrived.
Do you think the Whitechapel killer is behind this murder, Holmes?
Yes, and now this murder has been linked to its rightful perpetrator, it will take on deeper meaning when we have examined the facts from that night. Let's go to Mitre Square, where Catherine Eddowes was killed. And make haste, Watson, as we have another murder to commit in 40 minutes. Here we are, Watson, Mitre Square. It took us a mere 20 minutes to get here. If the killer left Dutfield's yard around 1 o'clock, as we assume, he would have arrived here at around 1:20 a.m. We know that Catherine Eddowes' body was discovered at 1:44 a.m. Catherine was released from prison around 1 o'clock, but we have no information as to what she could have been doing until her death. This place has 3 possible ways out. Let's see where they lead. As a precaution, I brought an old map of the area with me. It will help us get our bearings.
Let's hurry, Holmes. This neighbourhood makes me ill at ease.
Yep, that's a map.
Watson, we are now in the exact spot where poor Eddowes tragically ended her days.
This spot is very dark, Holmes.
That is probably why our murderer chose it. I need something. Now then, we will need a lantern. Now then, we will need a lantern. Take the lantern, Watson. Do these objects spread out by the victim remind us of anything, Watson? A thimble is located right beside one of the victim's hands, just like Chapman's sachet of pills and Stride's pastils. Part of this apron is missing. We will follow up on that shortly. The inside of the thighs is clean. Once again, there were no sexual relations between the victim and her murderer. The main incision goes from the sternum all the way down to the groin. The murderer opened this abdomen as if it were an animal carcass. A kidney was removed. The uterus was removed. These intestines were pulled out altogether to grant access to the abdomen. The head is turned towards the left. The murderer must have been on the right side of his victim. Let's look at her from the front.
Oh my god. This is terrible.
There is but one wound, Watson. It goes from the left side and descends in a slight oblique towards the right side. The nose was cut. The eyelids were cut off. The eyelids were cut off. The cheeks were slashed to make them thinner. There is but one wound. There is but one wound, Watson. It goes from the left side and descends in a slight oblique towards the... The eyelids were cut off. The eyelids were cut off. The nose was cut. The cheeks were slashed to make them thinner. The cheeks were slashed to make... There is but one wound, Watson. It goes from the left side and descends in a slight oblique towards the right side.
Is that everything?
My goodness, Holmes, it was a slaughter.
Understand, Watson, that our killer had neither the time nor the conditions to bother with the niceties. He had no more than 7 or 8 minutes at most to kill the woman, open her up, and all the while in total darkness.
Holmes, it's a woman, a poor victim you're talking about.
Consider all the time this man lost and the risks that he actually took by cutting the victim's face and the lower abdomen in around 20 precise spots, especially the lungs and the liver. These attacks, which I considered gratuitous, are in fact nothing of the sort, and have as much sense as the removal of the organs. We must, first and foremost, locate the 3 exits leading to Mitre Square, Watson. This is Mitre Street, from where Watkins, the constable who found the body, came. I have no reason to go that way.
Ah, what am I doing? Oh my god.
Church Passage. It must be opposite the Imperial Club at 16 to 17 Duke Street. Let's go to the end of this lane, Watson. Hello, you must be Abraham Solomonovich, am I right?
Yes, that's me. But I know you. You brought a lad to my place to take care of a cat, and I loaned you my mask.
That's me. May I present?
Dr. Watson, of course. Delighted. And you? I have known for a few days that you are a detective by the name of Sherlock Holmes. Is that so?
You don't miss a thing, do you? It was the children who gave me away, am I right?
They didn't want to, but I gained their confidence by offering them a small comb and half a cake.
They made a good deal out of it, so I don't blame them. However, I must request, as a personal favour, that you do not reveal my identity.
You have my word. Curiosity is just killing me, as you may have guessed. Would it be breaking an oath to confide in me the nature of the investigation that you are leading?
Ow. Church passage.
Does this spot where we are now in Mitre Square mean anything to you?
A demon lives in this city, Mr. Holmes. These unmentionable acts degrade the human race and put the Jewish community in terrible danger.
Lots of rumours are circulating, but they are but rumours. I see you're leaving the Imperial Club. It's a stone's throw away from Mitre Square, and the 2 recent murders were most probably discussed in there. Do you know if anyone from the club saw or heard anything that night?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, 3 members of our club saw a woman talking to a man at the very spot where we are standing, a few minutes before the body was found at the end of this passage. Fantastic, Holmes.
Calm yourself, Watson. There is nothing at the moment to suggest it was the victim. Can we meet these members?
I am afraid that won't be possible. As soon as the police heard the evidence of these men, they were sworn to silence.
I understand.
But you are working for the good, and I must tell you what I know. One of the 3 men, my friend Joseph, left that night with 2 other members of the Imperial Club, Harry and another Joseph. It was around 1:35 a.m., perhaps a bit earlier. When Joseph, not my friend, but the other, the Aldgate butcher, exited, he saw a man and a woman in discussion at this very spot where we are.
These men must have been about 16 feet away from the couple.
That's about right. So Joseph, the butcher, said to the other 2, while pointing at the couple, "Look, I don't like going home alone when I see this kind of people here." My friend Joseph looked at them without noticing anything strange and didn't understand what he meant. They had the look of 2 rather unkempt people, but no more than that.
Testimonies?
After the murder, did these 3 men tell the police what they had seen?
Not quite. Harry stated that he hadn't seen the couple. As for Joseph, the butcher, even though he was the one who commented on them and pointed them out, said that he couldn't remember anything except that the man was about 3 inches taller than the woman, who was 5 feet tall, no more. My friend Joseph, on the other hand, did his best to cooperate with the police.
Description?
And what did your friend Joseph say? What did this man and woman look like?
The man must have been 30 years old, about 5'7", light complexion, and a fair moustache. He wore a loose, dark jacket, a grey cap, and a red scarf around his neck. But he said that he only saw him for a brief instant, and it would be impossible to recognize him.
And the woman?
He only saw her from behind. She had her hand on the man's stomach and seemed to be pushing him. He said that he remembered that she was small, was wearing a black jacket and a black bonnet. After his testimony, the police took him to see the clothing of the deceased, and Joseph said that they looked identical to those of the woman he had seen. Like I already said, he only glanced at the 2, as he was headed with the others in the direction of Aldgate.
One final question. The Imperial Club is a Jewish club, isn't that correct?
Indeed.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Solomonovich.
Bah, it was nothing. We must at all cost prevent this demon from striking again, and the police seem to have some difficulty in doing that. I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, damn. Pew, 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 pew. Sherlock Holmes is better.
This building is the Great Synagogue of London. Closed. Nothing of interest here.
Oh, really?
I have no reason to go that way. The Imperial Club. I have no reason to go that way.
Did I miss something? I don't think I did.
I have no reason to go that way.
What do you want me to do now? There's nothing left to search, I don't think. Do we just leave?
I have no reason to go that way. I have no reason to go that way.
Oh my god. I swear this game gives you so much help and then no help at all.
Nothing of interest here. We must, first and foremost, locate the 3 exits leading to Mitre Square, Watson.
I think we've done that. Documents. Let's see. Mitre Street, St. James Passage. How did I not notice that?
This dark and narrow passage leads to St. James's Place. Watson, we must now consult our timeline. We began in Dutfield's yard, but this time we will try to recreate the actions of certain people. In this case, those of the 2 policemen.
Oh my god! There's so much to do. Let's see, 1:30 a.m. He enters in 1:30.
1:30 a.m. PC Watkins didn't see the corpse while on his rounds. If PC Watkins did his rounds properly, and there is no reason to doubt this was the case, as he discovered the corpse a quarter of an hour later, the murder hadn't yet taken place, and there was no one in Mitre Square, unless they were hidden among the shadows. Enter Mitre Square via Mitre Street, Watson, and stop and try to see me with the lantern. I will be where poor Edow's corpse was.
I see you, Holmes.
Perfect, Watson. Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
I'm so confused. Let's see, 1:35 a.m. A man and a woman are discussing the issues.
1:35 a.m. A man and a woman are arguing at the entrance of Church Passage. The man came from Aldgate.
And then 1:42 arrives.
1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives in Mitre Square. It should be noted, Watson, that the constable didn't enter Mitre Square. He could not have seen the corpse lying on the ground. But would he have been able to see a man sitting or standing? Go to the Church Passage entrance, then come back and try to see me while holding your lantern. I will stay at the spot where the victim was discovered.
I see you, Holmes.
You had to proceed into the square in order to see me, something Harvey didn't do. It is possible that the killer was still there. 1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives at Mitre Square but does not go in. The murderer may well have still been there.
Let's see, the murderer hadn't yet.
Very good, Watson. Thus we can categorically state that the murder had not yet occurred at 1:30.
Okay, before the body is discovered.
1:44 a.m. The body is discovered. Let's put the murder of poor Eddowes on the timeline, Watson.
Let's see, 1:35.
1:35 and 1:42 a.m. The murder would appear to have taken place between these times, that is to say, within 7 minutes.
Agreed, Holmes. But does this really prove that our killer had the time to perpetrate these two murders?
Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
Sherlock and Watson took 20 minutes.
There, Watson. We are now certain that the murderer really had the time to commit these two murders.
Incredible!
Let's look at our deduction board, Watson.
Oh, right now. Oh, okay. Deduction. Oh my god. Okay. The wound on the neck goes from the right and slightly oblique and descending. The murderer was behind the victim. The blow was fierce and instantaneous. The murderer wanted to decapitate. I guess. Maybe. I don't know. The murderer is a bit shorter than the victim. The wound is superficial. The wound is the same kind as... No. Ambidextrous? No. Not gonna... There we go. So now we know that's correct. See, Edo died the same way as Lestrade. Edo's murder is short and left-handed. The murderer strangled his victims. This weapon. And a accomplice at Lestrade's murder killed Lestrade's murder to go kill. Or maybe the same. Yes. Central incision goes from the sternum downward towards the groin. The murderer cut open the stomach in a surgical manner. The murderer opens the aorta's abdomen like that of an animal. That's what Sherlock said. A piece of C. Edo's white apron was cut. The items of the victims are neat and orderly. The objects fell by chance, like order. Well then. Items are meant for a woman. These items belong to the victim. Obviously don't belong to the victim. Search E and else. The was found right beside the victim's hand. CEO's liver and lungs underwent small incisions. Uterus were removed. C. Edo's nose was cut. Edo's cheeks were slashed to become thinner. Edo's eyelids were cut. Hates kidneys. Murdered new Antonio. Did not know it.
This spot is making me nauseous. Can we not head back, Holmes?
We certainly can't, Watson. We have one final point to address. Do you remember the piece of white apron that was missing just now? It was found just a few steps away from here, at the entrance of a building. That's where we must go.
Where? Where was it found?
Let's go. There's the spot, Watson. By night, Goulston Street is deathly silent, which will permit us to carry out a fair few experiments.
Oh
Let's
God,
find
no.
the entrance where the piece of the victim's apron and the mysterious chalk message were found. Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street. Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street. Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street. Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street.
Oh, now that those are green, I have to... I'm sorry to everyone.
Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street. Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street.
I'm sorry. As soon as I saw they turn green, I had to know.
Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street. I have no reason to go that way. I have no reason to go that way. There's the spot where the apron and the message were found by PC Long. Now, let's recreate the scene. Remember, Watson, it was raining that night. Find me something with which to mimic raindrops hitting this wall while I write something with my chalk.
The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. But what does it mean?
Have you found something for us to pour water from, Watson?
Find a container and some water. Let me remind you that it's night time and the street is deserted, Holmes. A watering can. That's what I need. But I can't reach it. That may come in handy. Who knows? A watering can. That's what I need. But I can't reach it. That may come in handy. Who knows? An old wooden pole. A merchant probably threw it out. A watering can. That's what I need. But I can't reach it.
God damn it, Sherlock. This is why no one likes you. Ah!
Water.
Have you found something for us to pour water from, Watson?
Yes, I have, Holmes.
If this message were written by the killer, then it would have been lying in this entrance for up to 35 minutes before being discovered. Let's find out in what state it must have been. This message could not have withstood an entire night in the rain. During the investigations carried out on the night of the double murder, PC Hulse inspected the entrances of this street around 2:20 a.m. and confirmed to have seen nothing out of the ordinary. At 2:55 a.m., 35 minutes later, PC Long found Catherine Edow's piece of apron and the message in chalk. This message would not have withstood a whole night in the rain, as had I continued to water it for a little longer, I would certainly have erased it. It was written, therefore, at the moment when the piece of apron was dumped. This substantiates PC Hulse's statement, which stated he had seen neither of these during his rounds. After its discovery, it was guarded and protected from the rain, which was subsiding, which explains why it was still legible when it was erased at 5:30. My dear Watson, when you met P.C. Smith on his rounds in the street, where was he? On the pavement or in the middle of the road?
In the middle of the road, Holmes, without a shadow of a doubt.
Good. You will go down the street with your lantern as if you were a policeman on patrol, using Smith's position as a guide. As soon as you see the entrance where I used the watering can, tell me if you see anything. No, you aren't in the right spot with the lamp, Watson.
I'm sorry.
I have no reason to go that way.
Yes, I do. Let's get away from Sherlock. Is this what he wants? I don't know.
No, you aren't in the right spot with the lamp, Watson.
I don't know what he wants. Well, I'm just gonna leave you, Sherlock. Have fun spending all night out here by yourself. So, bye.
I have no reason to go that way.
Then what the does he want? Ah! I hate Sherlock.
There, Holmes. From here, I can see something written.
Can you read it?
No.
Do you see the white rag, Watson?
I see something on the ground, but I'm not sure if it's what you were talking about.
P.C. Long, who found the piece of apron, was examining the interior of the entrances, and yet nobody would have predicted that this piece of material would be discovered on the very night of the murder by a policeman on patrol.
What are you trying to get at, Holmes?
Let's look at this message on the wall, Watson. The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. In other words, the Jews were possibly blamed for nothing, but that will no longer be the case. Reading this message naturally begs one question. What would that be, Watson?
Why?
Indeed, Watson, why? For what reason would one have the right to blame the Jews in the future? Remember, Liz Stride was killed near a club for socialist Jews, Edaus not far from a synagogue and the Imperial Club, and finally, this piece of apron dropped here. This building is occupied by Jewish families. The killer really did go out of his way to incriminate the Jews living in the area.
It's a bit obvious, Holmes.
Yes, but with the rumours, Watson, the author of this message would have received a response to his strategy.
You are right, Holmes. So perhaps it's a good thing this message was erased.
Whoever took the decision to do this is a man of great wisdom and courage. Let's return to Baker Street, Watson. I have some pipes to smoke to help me think more clearly.
Let's go back to Baker Street. Home, sweet home.
Sherlock, I love you, but I also hate you.
I had nightmares all night, Holmes. As for you, I bet you didn't get a wink of sleep, did you? It's this chalk message business, isn't it?
Among other things.
And this lunatic is still running free. If only we knew what he looked like.
But we do know, Watson. We have a fairly accurate description.
I must have missed an episode of your adventures, Holmes. Not only have I heard you discredit the value of our eyewitnesses, but the few descriptions we do have don't seem to correspond.
An inaccurate account can regain its value if we can discover why and to what extent the truth must be rewritten. We've learned a great many things tonight, and I'm able to tell you what our man looks like.
Really?
Yes, and we're going to need a few things, Watson. Find me 3 mannequins, my worker's costume, my 3 full wigs, one of your worn garments, yes, that can be used for the workman's outfit, and one of your old suits. Oh, and my deer stalker, the one I never wear, but everyone seems to think I wear day and night.
Damn. You know, that thing, that piece of clothing that I bought you? And he's like, oh, okay.
We shall place our mannequins here, Watson.
Okay, that's cool. Stop interrupting me. God, Sherlock. That one.
A wig. This will come in handy.
Sherlock Holmes, drag queen confirmed.
Let's try to recreate the profile of the men seen by our 3 witnesses. So, as for one of the murders, we have no witnesses whatsoever. As for the 3 other, we have at least one person who claims to have seen the victims talking to a man a few minutes before their death. Do you remember whom these would be, Watson?
Oh my god. No. I don't remember. Wait a minute. Was this one of them? It is one of them. Yes. Oh my god. I'm so smart. Even though I can't remember at all. There we go. No. Okay. No. Mars Square, Holmes. These spots. Easy. No. Whose statement am I looking for? Nah. Ew. Is there a document that I'm forgetting? East London, death. Daily news, testimony. No. This is documents. So one of them. No. No. I'm too tired for this. Which would it be? I'm assuming it's dialogues again. Ugh. I can go a little longer. Let me see. Which would... Because it's locked in. So it has to be correct. Wait a minute, what are these things called? Maybe that'll give me. Statement. And it says that it can be either a dialogue or a document. So I feel like one of them has to be a document. This one. Yes.
Bravo, Watson.
Yay.
There are our 3 witnesses.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy. Okay, let's see. No, not that. I only saw him from behind. He was wearing a short black outfit, a small felt hat, cap in the dark. Eight. Let's see. I would barely 30-year-old or even less. 26. Let's just say. He was wearing a short black outfit, a small felt hat like a cap. Dark color and a white collar. He was carrying a bag. Brown mustache and all of dark brown mustache. I think that one's done. What's that? This one,
Indeed, Watson, that's the right size for Abraham's mannequin. The account given by Mr. Solomonovich's friend is incorrect in at least one point. The first Joseph said that the man was at least 5 foot 7 inches tall. The second Joseph said he was 3 inches taller than the victim, whom we know was 5 feet tall, which would suggest a height of 5 foot 3 inches. Don't forget that it was this second Joseph who attracted his friend's attention towards the couple on the other side of the road. We can assume he got a very good look at them.
Okay. Dark jacket. That means that one goes to you. Hurrah! At least 40 years old. No, that's the wrong one.
As for young P.C. Smith's account, he must have been mistaken about this person's real height. It is only an inch or two after all, and we can attribute the same height as the other two.
Brown deerstalker dark coat. I don't.
There we are. Magnificent.
So that one's correct. General appearance, working class, dark hair, mustache.
Perfect, Watson.
So let's see. Catherine Eddowes. She's about 46 years old. And he says... "30 years old." No.
Indeed, Watson, that's the right side.
No,
As for young P.C. Smith's account, he must have been mistaken about this person's real height. It is only an inch or two after all, and we can attribute the same height as the other two. Bravo, Watson. Our mannequins have been recreated based on the correct accounts. Now, Watson, let's see in what ways these statements differ and how the witnesses could have been mistaken. Let's look at these wigs and moustaches. Let's start by taking the first Joseph's testimony, who saw the man head-on in a well-lit spot and in which he noted fair hair. Now, let's consider the same person, but in the lighting and angle of the other two witnesses, in the darkness of night, with poor artificial lighting from above. Put out the light, Watson. Thus, poor lighting and a backlit subject can affect our perception of shades and colours. The wigs from Abraham's mannequin took on the same colour as the other two. The three testimonies, therefore, don't contradict one another, and we can apply the same facial hair to all three mannequins. Turn on the light, Watson.
No. Oh, wait.
Yes, I have, Holmes.
Well done, Watson. With regards to the murderer's hair, the three witnesses should agree on Abraham's testimony. As Joseph is the only one who saw our man in full light, his hair must therefore be fair. You see, Watson, it is hard to draw objective conclusions when one is an eyewitness to an event. This leads us to reconsider the various statements regarding the supposed age of the man. Even if you are face to face with someone in full light and for a period of several hours, to what extent can you determine their exact age? And even more so if you observe them for only a few seconds and or from behind. We must allow some flexibility when considering our witnesses' statements, but always scientific flexibility.
Tolerance of years, so...
Excellent. Now, on to the next step. There we are. Magnificent.
I like this puzzle. It's easy.
There we are. Magnificent.
Yes, I have, Holmes.
Now that we have fully considered the witness accounts, let's see to what extent they agree. If we apply the range of error for each of our dummies, we can deduce the age of our murderer as precisely as possible.
You go to 30. You go to 30.
Perfect, Watson. Within a margin of 1 year, Watson, the age of our murderer is 33 years.
But the man described by Smith was dressed respectably, whereas the other two were poorly dressed.
Indeed, but Whitechapel's respectively could quite easily describe the Sunday bests that all lower-class men own. Now, let's place ourselves in the shoes of Liz Stride's killer. He has just slain his victim and sees Louis Diemschutz discover her body. Our killer is at great risk if he stays in the area. He therefore gets away from this spot. But he wants to kill again. However, he might have been spotted in the area before having committed the murder by a constable on his round, perhaps, who managed to get his description. What do you think the killer will do?
What will do after committing the first murder into false yards before committing the second? Find an accomplice, flee, disguise, wait a while.
Go back home or to a safe location, change his clothes and leave again in search of another victim.
It's the only possible explanation, Watson. The man returned to the safety of his lodgings and then decided to go out again with new clothes and repeat his sinister nocturnal work. That's how the discrepancies between the witnesses with regards to clothing can be explained.
What a cold-blooded animal.
And what determination! Powerful motives are pushing this man. Thus, we can conclude that the respectable man with the package may very well have been seen by the two Josephs.
Even if it is just a mannequin, it's giving me goosebumps. But have we really made any progress, Holmes? I mean, there must be thousands of men in Whitechapel who match this description, wouldn't you say?
You're right, Watson. We have worked on who, now let's work on where. We need a map of Whitechapel, and please also find me a pencil, 2 compasses, one of which can draw ellipses.
Oh my god. I swear, Sherlock.
I am in need of something. I am in need of something.
First of all, let's place our 4 murders on this map, as well as the spot where the graffito appeared, and the piece of apron was dropped.
I don't remember where they were killed. Ah! Chapman. I'm such a bad investigator. I hate my brain. Yes, you are correct. Or at least I thought you were.
Perfect, Watson.
Oh my god!
Let's connect each crime scene to the one out of the others that is the furthest. You see, Watson, the murders aren't grouped together, but seem to be spread out like cardinal points around a central zone. The killer obviously wanted to avoid returning to the previous scenes of his crimes, assuming that they would be more closely watched, or that he could be recognized.
So, the killer lives at the centre of this cross?
In the vicinity, most certainly, but how near? We cannot afford to get it wrong. If you concentrate, Watson, you will notice that the murders are roughly equidistant from the intersection point of the diagonals. Let's focus on the night of the double murder. Remember, Watson, it took us 20 minutes to get from Dutfield's Yard to Mitre Square. Let's draw a line from one to the other. Perfect. We didn't make the trip as the crow flies, but that would not harm our estimate. Let's suppose the killer left Dutfield's yard at 1 a.m. and arrived in Mitre Square at 1:35 a.m. when he was seen by the two Josephs. If he took 5 minutes to change his clothes, that leaves a range of 10 minutes to determine where this man's lodgings are. We must determine the area in which one can go from Dutfield's yard to Mitre Square in less than half an hour. To do this, let's draw an ellipsis. The length between Dutfield's yard and Mitre Square corresponds to 20 minutes. By adding half, we get a distance of 30 minutes. By taking the two right segments, each starting from the two murder scenes, and which the sum of the lengths makes 30 minutes, we get our ellipses.
I'm sorry, what was that that massive spiel? Oh my god. To do this, let's Oh my god, game! Everything needs to be so perfect, and that's what I don't like about this game. I hate this game so much. I want to enjoy it, but it won't allow me to enjoy it. Ugh. So all I have to do is draw all it wants is for me to draw a circle between these two and a circle between these two. But it wants it to be so goddamn perfect that I don't like it. I dislike this game. It's not becoming enjoyable anymore. You know what? It's getting late. My brain is tired. I'm starting to get frustrated with this. So, let's just call it a day. Right, I saved. Yes. Can I not save now, or what's happening? Save. Yes. And I just deleted my old game. Are you kidding? Why won't it let me save right now? Do I have to do this? Is that why it won't let me? Now I'm worried. Wait, is that why it's not? Oh my god, game, please don't do this to me. You're still working, you're still functioning. So why aren't you letting me do the thing?
Well, we are still missing certain information in order to finish this investigation, Watson.
Please, game. I just want to go. Yes. If it doesn't let me save, I'm just done. I'm not doing this again. Let me look it up and see if there's a fix. they offer no solution. Apparently, this is like a game-breaking glitch. No! Let me see.
There we are, Watson.
Oh my God.
Our killer lives in this area.
It's still rather a vast area, Holmes.
Yes, indeed. And our goal is to reduce this area as much as we can. We must consider the fact that the murder at Mitre Square was committed under a certain amount of pressure, given that the killer knew he was wanted for the acts he committed not long before. We can assume that he had to do it in a safe zone, that is, an area not far from where he lives. This is especially true of an act such as the graffiti he carried out after 2 murders. Let's trace a circle around this point, with the distance separating it from Mitre Square as the radius. This will enable us to determine our killer's safe zone. Our killer must surely live inside this circle. Now, let's intersect it with the ellipsis that we previously determined. There we are, Watson, the Aldgate district.
Shouldn't we inform the police so that they can concentrate their efforts on this area of Whitechapel?
It is probably already crawling with inspectors, Watson, and I doubt that they would take us seriously, even if they were willing to listen to what we had to say. Let's focus instead on understanding the killer's modus operandi. We know our murderer preys on prostitutes who are penniless, weak, sick, or alcoholic, that he distracts them the moment before killing them, and that he left an anonymous message inciting anti-Semitic hatred at the entrance of a building occupied by Jews. How would you describe this man?
What a coward!
Indeed, he is a person of great cowardice. Let's look at his murders, and in particular the depredations on the corpses, putting aside that of Liz Stride, because on that occasion his work was left unfinished. If we recall the observations made on the victims and the parts that were mutilated or damaged on each of the bodies, without forgetting the fact that he also removed 1 or more organs, we can ascertain that our killer evolves during the course of the murders, cowardly and still evolving. And yet, look at the location of our first murder, that of Polly Nichols in Bucks Row. It is the most distant from the area our killer would appear to live. Perhaps this murder was preceded by another within the killer's area. I believe a cowardly killer would commit his first murder in an area close to his home, in order to find refuge as quickly as possible on carrying out the act.
Holmes, an idea just occurred to me that fills me with dread. This evolution of which you speak.
He will pursue his next victim as long as the conditions permit him to continue killing, Watson.
But how could one go even further in this horror? Look at what he did to that woman, Catherine Eddowes.
In order to avoid having to answer that question, we must act with haste and planning. Watson, I suggest you inform yourself on the mutilations sustained by the victims. We played with the idea that this could be an act of vengeance against prostitutes. If the mutilations correspond to areas affected by a specific pathology, perhaps the killer wanted to give an eye for an affliction he felt the prostitutes he knew were responsible for.
And this trail leading to Dr. Tumblety Holmes?
I also have a few things to look into in the meantime. I still have a primary witness to track down, not to mention old trails I've yet to pursue. See you soon, Watson. When we first spoke about the Bucks Row murder with Watson, he was reading a newspaper, The Star, dated September 1st, 1888, I believe, which mentioned similar murders in the preceding months. I have no chance of finding the police reports, but perhaps I could find some information at the Central News Agency. I must go there at once. Afterwards, I'll go back to see Abraham, the owner of the pet shop in Whitechapel. The second Joseph's statement would lead me to believe that he may know the man spotted on the corner of Church Passage that night. If that's the case, I must find this witness so I can question him.
Let me save. No, you're kidding. Am I gonna have to finish the game today? Did you just freeze? It did just freeze. Well, I had fun, but I guess we gotta go.